Hello Sumate, you're welcome back to my channel. So in this video we'll be learning how to make this beautiful bubu dress with collars, front slit, side slit, and both sides pockets. If this looks like what you want to know how to make, you can stick around. Let's get started. So on my table I have my fabrics. The white one you can see with me is my paper stay. I have the crepe and it's 1 yard for the crepe, and I have the Kampala fabric that I'm using for the main bubu dress. Okay, so the next thing you have to do is to fold your fabric into four, because I'm cutting both the front and the back together at the same time, and the shoulder will be doing cut together with sleeve. Okay, so this is me just spreading it open to show you that I've already folded it into two before folding it again, which is making it four. Please work according to the full length of the person you're working with. Okay, so it is the length you will use to fold. So now that it is folded into four, the first thing we'll be doing now is to take our shoulder measurement. Now the shoulder measurement of my client is 7.5. I will go ahead and mark 7.5. Then after which I will take her sleeve measurement, which is 11 inches, and I will add extra 1 inch to it. Okay, then the next thing we'll be doing now is to go ahead to take the horizontal measurements where the circumference measurement will be resting on. So the first point is to get the apex point, which is known as the nipple point. Then you mark your waistline where your waistline measurement will rest on. Then you mark the hip line where your hip circumference measurement will rest on. Okay, so after getting these lines, you go ahead to get the full length of the dress you are working on. So the client I'm working with, her full length is 55. Okay, so I will go ahead and I will mark 55 inches, but I decided to just make use of the full tape, which is 60 inches, to be on a safer side, because I'm going to fold it in on the lower part. So I just marked 60 inches. Okay, so before you fold your fabric into four, get the full measurement and the extra allowance to it. So I will go ahead and rule all the horizontal lines across. That I went ahead to label the apex point, the waist point, and the hip line. Okay, the apex is known as the nipple point. So I'm going to measure the full length from the center front now straight to the full length to go ahead and measure it on the nipple point line. Okay, then I'm going to square the sleeve part. Okay, so now we've already gotten where the sleeve will be resting on and we've squared it up. So the next thing I will go ahead to do now is to take the neckline measurement. Now for the neck width, I use 4 inches for the neck width. Then for the neck depth for the back, I use 1.5. Okay, then for the neck depth for the front, I use 8 inches. Now the neck depth for the front is going to be connected as V shape. Can you see what I'm doing? Then I'll carry my curve ruler and connect the back neckline. So with that being done, we'll go ahead and take our horizontal measurement. First of all, I will take my waist measurement. I will add extra 2 inches for ease allowance. Then I will go ahead to take my hip measurement. Her hip measurement is 10 inches, extra 2 inches for ease allowance, because you know it's a bubu dress, is free. Then I will go ahead and I will measure the bust measurement on that nipple point line. Then I will add extra 2 inches for ease allowance, add 1 inch for seam allowance. You know we didn't add 1 inch to the waistline and the hip line. I will go ahead and add it to the waistline and the hip line. So whatsoever measurement we have on the hip line now is what we are extending to the lower part of the dress. So I will just go ahead and shift my fabric upwards. Then I will extend it, which is 13 inches in total, 10 inches for hip measurement, extra 2 inches for ease allowance, 1 inch for seam allowance. That's 13. So after that, I will go ahead and square it up with my straight ruler before. Then I will go ahead to the upper part and I will connect from the bust measurement to the waist. Then from the waist I will connect to the hip. Then from the hip I will connecting straight to the other straight line from the hem of the dress. You see how I'm placing my ruler to connect from the waist to the hip and from the hip to the other lower part. If your client is very curvy, you have to make it curvy also. She's very curvy, the person I'm working with. So I'm just cross-checking the lower part. if it is accurate. Then you connect all your lines like this appropriately. You can see how nice it's looking, the shape, like she has a very good shape. Then the next thing you're going to do now, for us to be able to connect the armhole line, I'm just cross checking all the lines if they are correct, if they are accurate, to be on the safer side. So you can see me cross checking everything. So the next thing now is to connect the armhole line. So from the bust point now, come up by 1 inch, just come in by 1 inch, so that it can guide you to curve the armhole, because you're not just going to leave it like that. Okay, so you can see how curvy the armhole is looking already. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I went ahead to cut the neckline, and I was going to cut the sleeve before I realized that the sleeve is not meant to be straight on the lower part. So on the lower part of the sleeve, I will come in by 1 inch. Okay, now then I will connect it straight to the upper part to create a slant. The reason why is because by the time you finish sewing your bubu, if you just make the sleeve straight like that, okay, it's going to pop up like the part you sew in now, it will be showing. So this slant now that you've created, it helps you to hide that part inside. Okay, so I will just go ahead and cut it out. And after cutting it out, the next thing we'll be doing now is to go ahead and determine the band we'll be using. Okay, but before then, we will have to separate the front and back together, because we have to cut the front neckline. But I'll go ahead and notch it first. I will notch the neck width. After notching it, I will go ahead and spread the fabric open. So by spreading it like this now, we are separating the front from the back already. Okay, then you fold it into two. You know that we are working with the wrong side of the fabric, so you make sure your folding is on the wrong side. So I've gone ahead to pin it down, and that's what I'm showing us. So we already have the neckline. The next thing we'll be doing now, how wide do you want your band? I want it to be 2 inches wide, so I'm going to measure 2 inches from the neck depth of the front, which is the 8 inches. Now I will measure 2 inches from there to the lower part of the gown, and I will roll it across. Okay, so after that, we can now go to the next phase. So I'm just marking the 2 inches straight down, then I will use my ruler to connect it also. So we're connecting it straight to the 2 inches where the 2 inches where the front neck depth is ending. You see it, me rolling it across. So from that 2 inches now, connect another neckline straight to the shoulder width that you've connected, the neck width that we've connected before. Okay, so I will just go ahead and cut it out. Then this part that we're cutting out now is where the pink fabric will be resting on as the collar. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and cutting it all through straight to the lower part. So after that, I'm just going to spread my fabric again. I will remove all the pins and spread the fabric. Then we can now go to the next phase. So now you can see what we have here. I'm measuring to the 8 inches we came down with, and I'm notching it because that's the neck depth. That's the full measurement for the front neckline. Okay, so I went ahead to notch it because it's going to serve as a guide for what we're about to do. Then on the lower part, I want to measure for the slit. So for the slit, I used 16 inches. But please, if you are using 16 inches for your slit, you know you added extra how many inches for your folding allowance. So if it's 2 inches you added for extra folding allowance, add it to the 16 inches. It will now become 18 inches for your slit, because by the time you fold that part away, if you only use 16 inches, you've already folded 2 inches away from the 16 inches, and it will go to 14, and that will be too short. So now after that, I went ahead to fold the back part of it also to measure the 16 inches for the slit, because it is going to be on both sides and on the front. Okay, so I'm just using my chalk to mark it to serve as a guide, because all these markings and notch I'm making, take note of them and make sure you notch yours along, because it's going to serve as a guide as we progress in the making of the video. So here is the crepe I have with me. I've gone ahead to cut the crepe into a very long strap, okay? So now one strap is measuring 60 inches. So I went ahead to cut about two actually. Then what I will do, I'll go ahead and join it together. Now please note that the width of this fabric of the crepe you are seeing here is 5 inches in total, because I'll be using half. By the time you fold it into two, it gives you 2.5, right? And by the time I use half to join, it goes back to 2 inches, which will take us back to the 2 inches we removed from the main garment. Okay, so I'll go ahead to the sewing machine to join it together. Okay, so now I've gone ahead to join. I'm just going to notch the midpoint. I had to fold it into two to notch the midpoint, because you have to get the midpoint. Then on the dress too, I'll fold it into two to get the center back midpoint also. Okay, because we need it. So from that point now, you will have to measure if the strap is long enough. The strap that you've already cut, just measure it round from the midpoint of the dress that you notch from the back and the midpoint of the strap that you notched. You just pin it down and measure it down if it's enough, okay, before you start attaching your paper stay or any stay that you have. Okay, so but I will not advise you to use any hard stay. This paper stay is okay. It's going to give your fabric the firmness you needed for this work to be done neatly. So now that side is long enough. I'm going to check the other side if it's also long enough too. So after checking it like this, the next thing I will do now, I will go straight to my ironing table and iron my paper stay on it. Can you see what we have? So now this is what we have. I will go and iron the paper stay on it. Then we can go to the next thing. Then I've already cut out the strap for the sleeve part. Also, it's 5 inches for the width, and this is what we have for the sleeve part. So I've gone ahead to iron on it, and this is what we have. So now the first thing we'll be doing now is to go ahead and use this pink part now to turn the sleeve. So what do? You will fold this crepe into two like this. Put it on the wrong side of the fabric. Can you see? Put it on the wrong side of the fabric. The wrong side of the fabric. Okay? Put it on the wrong side and sew it across. Then after sewing it, what you do next, now we've gone ahead to sew it on the wrong side. You are now going to flip it on top the right side of the fabric. Okay, so when you flip it on the right side of the fabric, this is what's good. This is how it's going to show at the end. Then you go ahead and press both sides down. Okay, just go ahead and press the both side down, and after that, this is what you have. You can see how neatly done it is. So I'll repeat the same thing for the other sleeve, so we can go to the next step. So I'm just rolling the waistline across because the dress is carrying a pocket. So to get your normal placement for your pocket, you go down by 1 inches from your waistline. You can also use 2 inches from your waistline, okay? But I'm using 1 inch here. Then I'm going to notch the 1 inch that will serve as the point the pocket is starting from. I've gone ahead to cut 4 pieces of fabric that I'm using for the pocket. Now for the width of the fabric is about 6 inches and the length is about 9.5 inches. Okay, can you see what I'm measuring? The width is 6 inches. So what you do now, I'm going to place the fabric on the main dress, but you can see that I'm putting it in between. You make sure that the right side of the part of the pocket is facing the right side of the main dress. Can you see what I'm showing us? The right side of the pocket will be facing the right side of the main dress. This is the right side, okay? This is the right side of the pocket of the one I cut out for the pocket. This is the right side, okay? So how do you place it? Can you see it? Now the right side is facing the right side of the dress. So I will go ahead and pin it down. Don't forget that this is the wrong side of the dress we have on the table with the chalk marking, okay? So I will go ahead and pin it down like so. Then the other part of the pocket, we are going to place it the same way. So now this is the other part of the pocket. If I flip it to the other side, this is what we have. Can you see it? So now the right side, this is the right side of the fabric, so you make sure the right side is facing the right side. Place them together and pin them, starting from the notched part, the 1 inch we came down with from the waistline that we notch. That's where the pocket placement will start from. So after pinning it to it, the next thing you do now, you go ahead and join it together. But take note, when you're joining it, join with the 1 inch seam allowance we added while we were drafting, we were putting our measurements. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join both sides, and this is what we have. Can you see? So the next thing we are going to do now, can you see the other side also? I've gone ahead to join it. So the next thing we are going to do now is how to place our band. And this is the major work of the dress. We've gotten to the point, the most important part of the video. So now this is the crepe. I'm gonna head to iron the paper stay on it. Can you see it? You can see what we have, right? I'm gonna head to iron the paper stay, and this is what we have. So what you do now, fold your crepe exactly into two. I went ahead to rule a straight line straight down in between the crepe. You know it's 5 inches. I went ahead to reel a straight line to make it 2.5 on each side. I marked the midpoint. Okay, so now the midpoint, you know, we already notched the midpoint of the gown from the back. So now I will go ahead from the midpoint. Now I will measure it straight to that 8 inches where the front neckline is ending. Then I will go ahead and mark it on the fabric. Okay, so this point is where the 8 inches for the front neck depth is ending. You can see me marking it on the crepe. So from that 8 inches also, I'm going to measure straight down to the 16 inches we came up with for the split. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? I will measure it down to the 16 inches we came up with for the slit. Then I'll go ahead and mark, and I will also mark it on the crepe. Can you see? So after doing that now, the next thing you have to do now, fold the crepe into two, fold it into two, fold it into two equal halves. Okay, don't make a mistake. So those markings that we've made for the neck depth, rule it across. Okay, like so, to serve as a guide. Then the marking we made where the slits will be starting from on the lower part, you will also rule it across. So what you will do now, from the neck, from the upper part marking that we'll make, which is the neckline depth for the front, now you will sew it across, and it will end in where the slit is stopping. Okay, so I'll go ahead and run a straight stitch. I've gone ahead to run a straight stitch from the upper marking to the lower part. Okay, so now that we've run the straight stitch, the next thing you will do now is to turn it. Can you see how I'm turning it? You will pick it side by side. Okay, so by the time you pick it this way, can you see what I'm doing now? It will, the collar is already coming out, is already giving us the form we want to work with. So after turning it this way, the next thing we will do now is to go ahead and attach it to the dress. Now if you don't want to go through the long route like me, please, you just place it on it and run it straight down. Make sure that the midpoint, the markings you made, you know the midpoint of the collar and the midpoint of the dress. Okay, from the center back, you can just place it and run it all through. Just run it around like that and you're done. Then you can go ahead and weave it. Okay, but me, I don't want to do that. I want it to be actually really very neat. So I'm going to spread the collar open. Okay, can you see what I did here? You spread it open, you pin it all the way round to the lower part. Now we are going to be turning the band. We are going to be turning the main fabric inside, in between the band. Okay, you know when you're making a skirt and you're turning the waistline with the band, exactly the same thing I'm doing here, because I don't want to weave the across neckline or the other parts. I just want to weave only the sides of the dress, and I really want this part to be very neat. If you don't want to, it's stressful. If you don't want to go through the stress, you don't have to. Okay, so I will go ahead and pin it all the way down. Now that we've pinned that side, turn it this other way around so that the other side will be easy for you to pin. So now we just do that off camera. I'll go ahead and pin it all the way down. You see what I'm showing us? So after doing that, now you can see I've gone ahead to pin it all around and I've sewn it all around. Now this is what it looks like on the wrong side. Can you see it? I've gone ahead to sew it all round also after pinning it. So the next thing we'll be doing now is to fold the band on the sewing that we've already made. So we're using the band to cover the first sewing that we've made. Okay, so you can see how I'm pinning it down. I will fold the band, I will fold the edge of the band, which is the collar. I will fold the edge of the collar, place it on top, covering the other sewing, then I will pin it down. So I will continue doing this also until I am done pinning it all round. But you have to pin it closely so that when you sew, it doesn't shift. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the pinning like so. Then I will go to the sewing machine and also sew it all round, pressing it down across it. So like I said from the beginning, if you don't want to go through the stress, just hold your band, the two sides of the band, hold it, just to go ahead and run it across and you're done. So you can see what I'm doing. I will go ahead and continue pinning. By the time I'm done pinning it all the way, can you see it? It takes a lot of time, but it makes your work really very neat. So by the time I'm done, I will go ahead. This is how far I've gone. I've already pinned one side. I'm done pinning one side. Is remaining like half to be done with the other part. And this is me pinning it. So what you do, you just continue pinning it until you're done. When you're done, you go straight to your sewing machine and sew it all round. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? You can see how I'm pinning it. So after that, now I will go straight to the machine and sew it. And here I've gone ahead to sew it all round, so the band or the collar is now fully attached to the dress already. So the next thing I will do now is to go ahead and join both sides together. But you have to take note of this part. To join the side, mark the 1-inch seam allowance you added. Okay, then you should be able to do a very nice connection on the armhole part. Okay, so now I'm just connecting it straight to the sleeve part. Then on the pocket part, you come down by 1/2 inch because that's where you're going to follow. So from the sleeve area now, I'm just going to connect my chalk straight through to the pocket. You make sure that the pockets are well arranged and they are meeting properly. Okay, then this is how you're going to follow it. 1/2 inch, sewing through the pocket, straight down, you mark your 1 inch again and connect it. Okay, so when we go to the sewing machine, this is how you're going to sew it all around straight down. We'll repeat the same thing for the other side, and when you're done, you're going to notch the armhole area so that it relaxes the way it is relaxing on the table here. So like this, now we've gone ahead to sew all the parts. The pocket is done, every part of the dress is done. I've gone ahead to hem the lower part also, and you can see the front slit. The side slits are also there. All the slits are there. By the time I flip it, you can see the slits, right? So I will go ahead and weave it and weave the side before ironing the side slit. So here we're going to make the cover button. I have the iron side of the cover button. I have the plastic side. So I will pick a fabric. I will place the iron side inside the fabric. Then I'm going to place it inside the cover button knots. Okay, then I will place the plastic on top of it. Then I'm going to cover it with the other side of the cover button nut. I don't know if that's what they call it though. So I will go ahead and place it on my machine, then I will press it down. Can you see what I'm doing? So this is what I will repeat for all of them until I'm done with the numbers of cover button I need for the job. So you place it on the wrong side of the fabric, okay, so that by the time you press it, the right side of the fabric is what is going to show for you. So I will continue doing it like this until I am done with the amount of button I want. And when I'm done with the button, what I will just do is just to use my needle and thread to attach it to the dress. So what I did was that I used the pink thread to attach the buttons to the dress, because you know we're attaching the buttons to the pink part of the dress. Okay, so after doing that, that's all, and we've come to the end of the video, and this is our final work. You can see how nice it is. If you find this video helpful, give me a thumbs up, like, comment and share. Bye.